Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Mark and Smark Connection podcast. We are live to tape again. After last week's live episode for Survivor Series, we came back to our normal day and time, midweek, or not midweek. We're not midweek anymore. Saturday, to talk about everything that's happened and everything that's going to happen in the world of wrestling. With me today is the Mark. Matt Cooper.
That's me.
And I am the Smark, Jesse Disbro. No connection this week. He kayfabe injured at the last minute during the last podcast, so he's gone. But we had Survivor Series last weekend. We had Raw and SmackDown. After Survivor Series, we had some busy times to be had. That week, that in between the in between, like the NXT on Wednesday and Thursday and Tuesday, it's kind of started to put a little damper on how I think both of us enjoy wrestling. What do you think about that, Matt?
Yeah, a little bit. Well, like, what does it do for you exactly?
Well, it breaks up everything so that I kind of forget what has happened at the beginning of the week, and I don't feel quite as invested to come back
Yeah.
on Friday.
And as far as, well, I guess what they're hoping you'll do is you'll watch NXT on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, part of what makes it hard from a logistical standpoint, and I guess this is just, I call it backstage bitching trademark, is if we're primarily a WWE show, and if they have their biggest shows at the beginning and the end of the week, it makes it a pain in the ass to, schedule something that's timely. Like, we're going to talk about Survivor Series now. Back in the day, we'd be talking about it on Wednesday or something like that, but now we're talking about it on Saturday, and people have already forgotten.
Yeah, so already forgotten. So we probably won't like hit heavy on what happened in Survivor Series.
No, but
Let's just do our normal spiel then. How about that? Why don't we try to get some normalcy in our schedule and our lives here. This is what we do. Every week we come in, we talk a little bit at the beginning, and then Matt talks about what he's marking out the most for, whatever happened this week or might be coming up in the near future. We hit some big meaty topics. This week's topic is mostly NXT's win in the Battle of the Brands, what that might mean. And then we kind of close it up with our hot tag, hot take, our finishing maneuver, and our outro.
mm-hmm. Mm-mm-mm.
So whenever you're ready, go ahead and mark out there, Marky Matt.
Yeah, so forgive me. Being all kinds of unprofessional today.
Yeah, that's all right.
So yeah, no, I had like a mouthful of beverage, and I was like, crap, it's time to talk.
Beverage. I'm going to take a sip of mine. Why don't you talk for a while?
So, the marking out segment is where I, the Mark, choose one thing that happened throughout the entire week of wrestling to mark out about it. I have kind of a marking out, and I have kind of two marking outs this week. The first is I was marking out over Keith Lee. He did fantastic at NXT TakeOver War Games, and he was a surprise feature in the men's sort of brand supremacy match, ultimately losing to Roman Reigns. But if you had to have, if you looked at the NXT team and you had to have chosen somebody who would be in the ring at the end of it all, it might have been somebody like Tommaso Ciampa or something like that. But no, it was Keith Lee, and he wasn't that bad. So woohoo!
He was better than half bad, I think.
Oh yeah, no, dude showed up, as they say.
Yeah.
And he got a little sign of respect from Mr. Reigns at the end, which is always nice.
Yeah,
but
it's always nice. And what was the other thing you were marking out a bit about?
The other thing I was marking out about is the fact that NXT actually kind of won the quote-unquote brand supremacy. Yeah, they won the bragging rights, I guess, so to speak.
Yes.
Which I wasn't expecting. I thought it'd be like, I think the prediction we made was that, everybody would win one, and then one brand would win just one more or two more or whatever. But NXT actually won the night.
Yeah, they added like 3 kickoff matches. So
that surprised me.
Yeah, the final score was NXT 4, SmackDown 3, Raw 1.
And it's surprising to see Raw so low on the totem pole there,
Yeah,
relatively speaking.
yeah, it
Uh,
is. And I mean, Becky Lynch did beat up Shayna Baszler after Baszler clinched the win for NXT,
mm,
but it still came in last. I would have figured. So the distribution ended up being 8 total matches.
mm-hmm.
So I figured I thought maybe they would do 2-2 and or
Well,
something like that.
if I had to read the tea leaves here, I'd say that the WWE's biggest competition right now is AEW on, which is NXT. A push. Guys are not half bad. Maybe I should tune in on Wednesdays. So,
Yes, yeah. You have the network,
and then
or you don't have the
SmackDown is
network.
their
It's
new Fox
USA now.
property. Yeah. USA, yes, forgive me. And the SmackDown is their new Fox property. Okay, so bada bing, bada boom. The two things they needed to promote the most, they promoted the most.
Yeah, I think it all worked out. All right. So some house cleaning from the fallout there on Raw the following night. Seth Rollins
Mhm.
got pissed and yelled at everybody on Team Raw for sucking.
Came out and pointed fingers.
Yeah, he did.
You
And
guys
then
stop.
Kevin Owens kind of said something to him. So, and what I mean when he said something to him, he hit him with a stunner.
I mean, that's the way Kevin Owens communicates
Right.
sometimes.
But you
So,
could tell Seth Rollins was going full bad guy because he was in a suit.
oh God, yeah. Anytime somebody's in a suit, they're evil. Even the Undertaker, his first outfit was a suit.
So he had a match against Kevin Owens at the end of Raw, and the AOP came out and apparently are working as an enforcer for Seth Rollins or something like that. It's interesting. It looks like there's something on the website about Seth Rollins going to apologize to Raw on Raw on
So
Monday.
is this gonna be one of those "I'm sorry, you're all idiots" apologies,
It
or
That's what it feels like. It's obviously written like he's a bad guy. He's not, he tweeted like after some days of soul searching, I've come back and realized that I need to come onto Raw and apologize. That was his tweet. Um, but
I gotta admit something sort of right now.
mhm.
As far as like pure charisma goes, I've never really been a fan of Seth Rollins's speaking or motivations or promos or any of that, and that Roman Reigns too. And in fact, I think all those Shield guys are pretty boring, with the exception of Dean Ambrose, now Jon Moxley.
So
So
the two guys that you mentioned already.
yeah, but yeah, no,
Well,
I mean,
and both of them,
what
it's
I'm
because both of them are baby faces and clear baby faces. I think Seth Rollins is run as a bad guy was a bit better than it was as a good guy. And I think maybe that's what they're thinking. Maybe it's time to go back to that well and see where they can tap for it.
I mean, it's weird because who nowadays works as a pure babyface? Like, people got bored of Bailey, and so now
hmm
she's a bad guy. Sasha Banks is a bad guy. Seth Rollins turning into a bad guy.
Like it looks
I
like
mean,
Kevin Owens can get over as kind of a baby face.
oh, but he's like a twisted version of a
He's
babyface.
not
He's
really a
not like your,
twisted version of a baby face. He's just kind of a hard-edged baby face.
well,
He's not
let
like
me
the
just say that he's.
the true baby
I
face.
I guess what I meant by that was he's not boring. I mean, he's not like, say your prayers and take your vitamins kind of babyface, which
Right.
nobody seems to want anymore, really.
No.
So,
I mean, the kids are fine
okay,
with
I'm
it,
not.
but
Yeah, and we also got to remind ourselves occasionally that there's, children watching, and some of the stuff is done for the kids. So,
doing it for the
you know,
children. Think of the
yeah,
children.
that was why I was mostly fine with Bailey. I was like the kids love her. So,
But
uh,
your Smark's remarks report is that AOP is back there. Andrade Cien Almas beat Akira Tozawa, who is now on Raw permanently.
I'm
That's
glad to hear.
interesting.
I'm glad to hear that the authors are paying her back. Those
Yes.
dudes are cool, and it was a crying shame what happened to them when they were brought to the how they were handled when they were brought to the main roster. So,
Buddy Murphy got
uh,
to beat Matt Hardy.
Matt Hardy, hey?
Yeah, so it was nice to see Matt Hardy again. Aleister Black
Oh, hey,
looks to be
speak of
in
the
a
devil.
promo with Buddy Murphy now, so that should be interesting. And Rey
Okay.
Mysterio beat AJ Styles to become the new Universal Champion, or United
Oh,
States
how about
Champion, I
that?
mean.
Didn't win the Universal or whatever the title is that Brock Lesnar has. So
Yeah,
goes and gets it from AJ Styles.
there was a AJ Styles attacked Humberto Carrillo, who I think was supposed to have another U.S. title match.
Mm.
Um, and then, but what happened was, since they attacked Mysterio, Ricochet, Randy Orton, and Drew McIntyre all came out and said we want the match. So they had a quadruple threat match, and Rey Mysterio won, and then made good on the championship opportunity after he fell short against Brock Lesnar the night before. So that was basically all that happened on Raw. SmackDown was a little busy too.
Yeah. I honestly didn't hear a lot of buzz about either shows on social media this week.
Well, we
SmackDown,
did
NXT,
post a little
or
bit about the Raw episode on our Facebook site.
which you can
Um,
find at Mark and Smart.
yes, facebook.com/Mark and Smark, I believe is where you can find it. Um, really, like, I think one of it's kind of interesting to see that the New Day is 5 years old. They debuted 5 years ago,
Oh
and they're
God,
still
really?
going strong. Yep. And
Well,
it's they've been doing well. They've reinvented themselves enough to keep themselves going, so that's kind of cool. And Bray Wyatt made the belt the Fiend faced, so
I saw that. That I don't know why it bothered me. It I don't know why. It's cool. I mean, it fits the aesthetic, but I was like, why do we have to constantly be changing the title around? Although it is weird, and I think I've said this before, it's weird to see the Fiend holding a title because I still believe that the Fiend couldn't give a shit about having a title, you know. So I guess this fits him better more.
yeah, it does. I mean,
What do you
they
think?
changed the
Okay.
Blue brand title. I'm sorry, I had a little coughing fit, so I muted myself, and then the mute button wouldn't come off.
Okay. I was
Um,
like, what do you think, everybody? Are you still there?
hello, chirp, chirp. I don't have a
Hello.
soundboard for
Okay,
this one.
everybody, welcome to the Mark
To the
Connection.
mark.
I'm your host, Matt the Mark. What happened this week? I don't fucking know. Tune in next week, where I also have no idea.
Oh, but I think maybe we might see Bray Wyatt holding the blue belt that they debuted last week or whatever it was, and got a little ho hum. People were a little ho hum about.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe the Fiend will wear the Fiend face belt, the hurt heel belt, as I'm gonna call it. We'll see. Everything else is just kind of people getting ready for what's coming up next on SmackDown. Um,
What is
Roman
coming up
Reigns, King
next?
Corbin fight, maybe Lacey Evans versus Bayley, maybe for the blue title. Um,
Okay.
and then Nikki Cross and Lexi Bliss trying to get back into the tag team title picture.
No, Alexa Bliss is back, huh?
Yep, yeah. She was back. Elias made a return.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear. We're
Yes.
big fans of Elias here at the Mark and Smart Connection
hmm
podcast.
And hopefully that means that now that he's back and ready to go 100%, they'll use him better. We'll find out. We'll see how they're going to use Sheamus, who also announced that he was returning.
Oh, he's been gone for a while,
He's been
actually.
gone for a very long time. He had like a head type injury, and
Oh, yeah.
it's
Yeah, you
not.
can't fuck around with those.
No, you can't really do
I
anything
wonder
about
if
that. I
I wonder
Cesaro
if he'll
is
come back and make.
on the blue brand, but I'm not sure whether they're going to come back together as a tag team.
I liked that tag team.
Yes, they were.
They started
They
off
weren't.
hating each
Yeah,
other,
and then they became
and then
friends.
they became friends.
Yes, I see.
Uh, So the joke, if you're tuning in for the first time, is that I always say that about the bar, and
Yes.
Jesse's like,
There's a lot of go-to phraseology that Matt has. He's got catchphrases like all of his favorite wrestlers.
Of course, like Hulk Hogan's catchphrase, which was uh shit, what was his catchphrase?
Well, you said it as part of the babyface analogy earlier.
Say your prayers and eat your vitamins. Okay,
Yep.
I always fuck that up and say your vitamins and eat your prayers.
Eat him right up.
But yeah, no. I mean, if you can encapsulate something in an expression and it works, then just use it over and over again until you die.
So to kind of
Urkel knew how that worked.
yeah, well, I mean, it's money. So to kind of
True.
catapult us into the big meaty topic, NXT spent their whole episode. They spent the beginning of it all excited and woo, yeah, we're awesome. Like the whole roster came out, and then
Yeah,
Undisputed
because they
Era,
won
yeah, Undisputed Era
brand
came out and
supremacy.
was
Yeah.
like, yeah, fuck you, we're the best. Um,
Mhm.
so there was basically most of all Undisputed Era got to wrestle.
Oh,
So
wonderful. They
yeah,
are still draped in gold, are they not?
yeah. They are still draped in gold. They are still the top. Looks like we might get some more Rhea Ripley versus Shayna Baszler's action, and Finn Balor actually beat Tommaso Ciampa in the main
Oh,
event.
hey,
Yeah, so that's
that's
very
nice.
interesting. Yeah,
This is heel Balor, right?
yes, heel Balor. Yep,
I
bad
wonder if
guy.
we'll ever see the demon again.
Hmm? The demon?
I
I
wonder if
think
we'll ever
so.
see. Yeah,
I think we'll. I
yeah.
think we'll come back around to the demon as like he'll need to unleash it somewhere to be bigger and badder and better. So yeah, we talked a little bit about NXT winning at Survivor Series. No titles changed at Survivor Series. Brock
Mm-mm.
Lesnar retained, the Fiend retained, and Leo Rush retained against his SmackDown and Raw cruiserweight opponents.
I'm so happy for Leo Rush, but I will also point out that they really, 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 really need to tone down that red light when the Fiend wrestles. I don't care if you like it, Jesse. It's just, it
It's not
bothers
that
the
I
fuck
don't.
out of me.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not even sure I like it. It's just it is what it is. You're going to have to deal with it. It's part of
Um,
the
are you
mystique.
saying that
Just
because you think
deal
it's
with it.
a bold artistic choice, or because you
Yes.
know that
Oh,
nobody's gonna?
because the WWE is on it and they think it's the right choice for the character,
Oh
and
God, so they're
I
not gonna change their
they're
mind.
not going to change their mind. I don't think it's
Hmm.
that bad, especially seeing as they put the entire match on the Titantron too. So if you can't
You know,
quite see it, you can always if you're in the arena, you can watch the Titantron.
I griped about this during the event itself, but I think they could maybe sort of lower the saturation of that red light, so it's not like fucking washing everything out. It can be present, but I don't think it needs to be so overwhelming.
So oppressive.
Yes,
I think that's
which is
part of
what
the
it is. No,
character.
I get. Yeah, it fits the fiend. Haha.
Hmm.
Whatever. I. What about, I'm tired of the red light.
It's omnipresent everywhere and oppressive. It's on you. It's bleeding over into your wrestling experience.
Uh-huh. That's almost saying like Shorty Gable is a good name because Chad Gable is short.
Well, yeah, and he's jumped full force into it, so why not? Let's see where it goes.
Okay, now I'm not trying to be an intellectual snob or anything like that. I get it. I really do just wish they would maybe, tone down the saturation of that red light. Things can be tinged red. It's okay.
Right, and
But they don't
I
need to
forgot
be.
Adam Cole did beat Pete Dunne in
Oh
another
yes, Adam Cole, baby.
yeah after War Games, which was interesting.
No,
This
War
is
Games was a fun event. We didn't
this
really
is
talk about it much,
no,
but
we didn't. This is one of the few times where I think the main pay-per-view is kind of stood up to the NXT pay-per-view, and it might just because NXT was in every match of this pay-per-view basically of Survivor Series.
Yeah, I agree. And we should note that the first ever women's War Games match was a fantastic barn burner, and all the ladies did great.
Yeah, they had
So,
the
lucky
the
yeah.
Dakota Kai heel turn, so it ended up being a 2-on-4 ladies match, which was interesting. I probably would have uh pushed for a full team essentially, but whatever. Tis what tis.
Yeah, and it's nice to have like story developments in some of these big matches. Sometimes it doesn't necessarily happen. Everybody just sort of stays in their lane.
Hmm.
So it's cool to see that kind of turn, and it made sense. And the people who did it had clear motivations and yada 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 blah blah blah.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. They just didn't like each other. It was good. Somebody stepped on their foot in catering. It was fine. Yeah, nothing major.
yeah, no, that's a fine way to start a wrestling feud. Go step on somebody's blue suede shoes, and then you
Yep, that's
go
that's
on to
how
have
half
like
of the
five
Honky Tonk
matches
Man's
at
feud
WrestleMania.
started, right?
Mm, I have no idea how the fuck the Honky Tonk Man's feud started.
He's
I
a
think he
Honky
just
Tonk
wanted to beat
Man.
people up.
He
It's
didn't
like
have
I'm a
any
Honky
feuds. That's
Tonk
how
Man.
he held the Intercontinental Championship for the longest reign in all of forever.
I want to hit you with this guitar. That's the entirety of my motivation. I'm the Honky Tonk Man.
He's
I
a
mean, what
Honky
more do you
Tonk
need than that
Man.
sometimes, you
He's
know?
cool. He's cocky. He's bad.
He's the Honky Tonk Man. Which, by the way, I hated the Honky Tonk Man. So, for
Um,
the record.
yeah, okay. And I guess the one thing to report from 205 Live is that gentleman Jack Gallagher has flipped back to being a bad guy.
Oh, good.
Yep.
He
So
wears a suit, doesn't he? So
he
I guess
didn't.
he should
No,
be
he
bad guy.
he was wearing a suit back in the Enzo Amore days, and then when Drake Maverick came in, he's like, "What the fuck are you doing wearing that? You should wear something. You should wear actual wrestling attire instead of this gimmicky looking garbage." So he went back to wearing, the trunks. But
Does he still bring an umbrella with him?
I don't know if he went back to the umbrella or not, but
Okay.
he hadn't when he was wearing the
Because,
suit because he was a bad guy. So the umbrella was a good guy thing, so he
you
couldn't
know,
do it.
an umbrella is a total heel move.
No, the umbrella played. It was like a character on its own. It was like a cartoon character. I think it even had a
Kind of
name.
like Ed.
Yeah, or like the pinatas that Lucha House Party brought down, or Francesca 2 Turbo, the trombone for Xavier Woods.
Wait, that thing is a name?
Yeah,
What is it?
Francesca 2 Turbo.
Okay.
Francesca
When you
was the
said
name of the.
Francesca 2 Turbo,
Yeah.
I thought that was a wrestler. I was trying to imagine who that was. I was like,
No,
who is Francesca 2 Turbo? I was going through the little filing cabinet in my brain. Like, no, 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 no.
no, 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 no. None of these people are these people. That doesn't exist. I'm sorry.
So do you think that if Xavier Woods comes back and has like a fever dream, he has to wrestle Francesca 2 Turbo, the embodiment of his trombone?
Or maybe. I don't know.
It's like
You go
Al
5 years.
Snow wrestling
Sometimes you have
himself.
to do some weird things to keep it fresh.
Yeah. Fooling.
Yeah.
Did anything of note happen on AEW this week?
I didn't even look.
Yeah,
Didn't
I didn't
didn't
hear
even
nothing.
care.
I didn't see nothing. Yeah, I've heard that they've sort of gone below uh, NXT in the last couple of like ratings battles or whatever on Wednesday night.
Well, I mean, the that makes a little sense. The NXT has been pushing towards two big events. Like Survivor Series was an NXT event, and
Hmm.
the the newness has kind of faded a little bit for AEW. So it would make sense for a little bit of a slide, and WWE was in position to make big gains on their last couple of weeks. We'll see now that there's not like an invasion angle, whether the weekly shows for NXT stay as high as they were.
Yeah, and it also we're coming towards a time, maybe after the first like 2 or 3 months where this sort of sheen wears off of AEW, and then they have to like sit down and really sort of work at what makes a continuing wrestling show. They won't be able to rest on their laurels. Am I using that right? I don't
Maybe,
know.
maybe, maybe.
Okay.
Anyway, the champion of AEW is still Chris Jericho,
Hmm.
and Chris Jericho is Canadian.
You okay? I'm following you so far.
So, what profession do you think his father did?
But what did Chris Jericho's father do?
Mm-hmm. Being
I don't know,
a
maple syrup
Canadian.
farmer?
Nope, not that. Well, almost that Canadian.
Okay. Canadian bacon harvester.
No, no. And he wasn't a Mountie
Tim
either.
Hortons manager.
Okay, no.
Moose
I
herder.
guess I should have realized that.
Zamboni driver.
Nope, you're in the right arena though.
Oh. I don't know, hockey goalie?
He was a hockey player. Yes.
A hockey player. Oh, yes,
Uh-huh.
okay. Very
Yeah.
Canadian.
Yep. Very Canadian, and
See,
I
I was
think they
trying to
were
stay
in.
away from
I
because
believe they
it's
were in
like a sort of a
Chicago.
hurtful
Yeah.
kind of a hurtful stereotype that all Canadians play hockey, Jesse. So
But it's like saying that all Americans play baseball. It
yeah,
just
and I
happens to
tried
be
to
the
juxtapose that
national
over.
pastime.
And I did just go through like Tim Hortons moose and
Yes,
maple
moose,
syrup.
moose herder. Yeah, it's all
Uh,
right. It's okay. Don't worry. No one's offended. In fact, the Canadians will apologize to you for you offending them.
yuck, yuck, yuck.
Anyway, but
So
yes, they
glad
were in
Chris Jericho's father
Chicago.
was a hockey player.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Chris Jericho's dad's a hockey player, and he was there in the Sears Center, which I believe is where the Blackhawks, the hockey team, plays there. So another classic
Mhm.
bit of heeldom from Chris Jericho. Um, he had a match against Scorpio Sky of SCU, and he won. He retained. Um, let's see. There's some other matches. Nothing that looked like it was a wonderful barn burner of a crazy
I
match.
mean, it's just compared to the WWE, they're between pay-per-views. They're not coming down from one. They're not really building up towards one just yet. So,
Right.
I mean, they do have Bash at the Beach, but I think that's it's just one of the regular shows. I
Yeah.
don't think it's a pay-per-view. So
Well, Kenny Omega beat Pac in a match, and there was
that
apparently
was
the
AEW Dark, right?
I don't
Or
I don't know. It's listed here on the listing here. There's also apparently
let's
a
try the
Dynamite Diamond Ring match. Where
Dynamite Diamond Ring match.
yeah, I think last week there was a battle royale, and the last two remaining got to wrestle each other for the chance to win a diamond ring.
A diamond ring. Is AEW brought to you by like IW marks or what?
Zales. I don't know. It's got you got me. Um, it just that happens to be the gimmick that they were working with. So whatever.
I
Um,
mean, it's I guess it's cool, but when are you gonna? I mean, a diamond ring is hard to show off on TV. Well,
yeah.
we got HD cameras
Well,
now, so
MJF won it, so he probably just put it with the pile of his other diamond rings that he already has.
is that his gimmick? He's rich.
No, his gimmick is that he's better than you, so you'd assume that he'd have, he dresses better than you, so you assume that he'd have
What the fuck? I'm
some.
wearing a diamond ring right now, and sweatpants, but
Yeah,
that's
well, yeah, that doesn't work. That's
yeah.
I
No,
would
it's the best like $10 diamond ring they had at Walmart.
yeah. So that's one of those diamonds, those like the special cloudy diamonds they come out with every year. This time, Black Friday diamond.
I mean, I stood in line to get this for like an hour. What are you trying to say?
I'm saying that it's Black Friday and nobody makes any sense. What does
Well,
make sense? Jon Moxley targeting Chris Jericho. That apparently happened at AEW, so we might finally be pushing the two biggest stars from AEW towards each other.
Yeah, I've been waiting for this to happen. Okay. By the way, I see. I don't know what I see there. I'd have to watch, but I would see Moxley coming out with the title, maybe just to get it off of Jericho, just to move the title around a bit.
Yeah, it might be time for some maneuvering of championship there.
Yeah.
So let's maneuver to the final part of our podcast here.
Okay.
So the final part of our
Which is
podcast
called.
is the hot take, and it's a section where we talk about whatever we kind of want that has to do with wrestling. Not necessarily like X's and O's, who won, who lost, but sometimes who was on what TV show or what was up up down down playing this week. For me, it's this Sunday. Um, so you might if you catch our podcast on the first day, just want to let you know that Starrcade will be back on the WWE Network, 7 p.m. There will be a women's tag team championship fatal four way. So Bliss Cross will be back in action against the current champions, the Kabuki Warriors, and then the champion for each brand and friend. So that would be Becky Lynch and Charlotte as one team, and Bayley and Sasha Banks is another team. I guess there's also a pseudo payoff to the Rusev, Bobby Lashley, restraining order, pseudo pregnancy, sex addict storyline. There'll be a last man standing match between the two of them. And hopefully they'll just show some video of it on Raw the next night and be like, all right, great, this is the end of it. Do 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 do.
I think they're gonna quietly bury that feud at Starrcade and then
Oh,
try to
let's see.
pretend it
Let's
never
hope.
happened.
But
Yeah.
because
But
Starrcade is Carolina based and a lot of fun, we're having the Kevin Owens Show with special guest Ric Flair. So if you're interested in watching a little bit of that, those I think will be the matches that will be on the WWE Network presentation. If you go live, there's 30 minutes of matches, I believe, before that, or maybe that's yes, and then I think there might be a little bit more action after that. But if you want to catch a little bit of it, it'll be on the network, and you can watch it on demand too as well.
okay, hot take. Now it's my turn. And typically after a pay-per-view, I do a DDT report. It's been about a week since then. I used to count the number of DDTs and sort of rate the event by how many DDTs it had. I don't do that so much anymore. The DDT, by the way, is my favorite wrestling move. I was a big Jake the Snake Roberts fan back in the day. It is the original RKO out of nowhere. So, Survivor Series was far more DDT heavy than Hell in a Cell, so I give it props for that. Special mention DDTs go to Rey Mysterio for a tilt-a-whirl DDT onto Brock Lesnar. Another special mention goes to Mustafa Ali, I believe, for a draping DDT on Randy Orton, one that was actually done well. So Randy, as your head hit the mat, I hope that it jogged something loose, sort of like Doc Brown knocking his head on the toilet and realizing the flux capacitor was the secret to time travel. And now you understand how a draping DDT should be done. But the DDT of the night, of course, goes to Becky Lynch for double DDTing Bayley and Shayna Baszler. Double DDTs are always fantastic.
Yes,
So,
yeah, they'd be a great finisher.
yeah, speaking of finishers, now it's time for the part of our show called The Finisher. This is the part where I come up with a finishing move based upon the conversations that we had during the podcast. It's something I try to do on the spot. Sometimes it's a tag team finishing move, sometimes it isn't. This week, it's going to be a submission move. That's something I call the midweek blues. And it's essentially just a $1 million dream, but the opponent's lying on his stomach, and you sort of wrench him back a little bit. I don't know if that's had that variation before,
And then
but yeah,
everybody just falls asleep.
yes, because it's the midweek blues.
Uh-huh.
Unless
So
you're watching NXT or AEW.
so eventually we wake up because the ring bell has rung, because we have won. We are happy. We are ecstatic. Everyone else in the stadium is rubbing their eyes because they fell asleep during the midweek blues. But if you have the midweek blues, you can always pick up this or any of our previous podcasts at markandsmark.podbean.com. You can also find podcasts on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play Music, YouTube, facebook.com/markandsmark. On social, at Mark and Smark on Twitter and Instagram, and at the Daily Smark website. So, for the Mark, Matt Cooper, I am your host, Jesse Disbro, saying thank you for joining us today, and we'll catch you next time.